Hello, and welcome back to the World Storytelling Cafe. And what wonderful stories we've been enjoying from all over the world. My name is Emily, and I'm back in my garden, enjoying the sunlight. Because this is a London garden, it can be quite noisy. Last time we had a little visit from our bird friend, the wren. And this time you may hear the delightful squeals of the children in the neighbouring gardens. But, you know, hey, there are worse sounds than the sounds of children laughing. I'm going to take you on a bit of an adventure through some dark waters. I'm going to tell you 3 stories. The first is the story of a river with a hidden secret. The second is a story song, and it's about the sea. And the final story is a true story, and it's about a lake way up in the glens. I hope you enjoy the stories, and as always, if you feel like dropping some coins in the hat, then I would be really grateful. Here we go. There is a place where the River Rhone curves round to a town in Provence called Beaucaire. And under the bridge in Beaucaire, someone is weeping. An old woman. Her hair is matted, her feet are black, her teeth are brown and as broken as her heart. She weeps from her one eye because the other eye's gone. Another child is missing in the town, and she knows the cause, but no one will listen to her story. Will you listen? Will you believe? She can't remember the day it happened, but she knows that she was younger, much younger, and much happier. The old woman shuts her one eye, tries to shut the memory out, and she whimpers, but it's no use. She is cursed, forced to watch her younger self over and over. She sees her hands, much younger hands, plunging into the water of the river, scrubbing and washing linens. At one side there is a linen basket, and on the other side she can hear a sound, a heavenly sound, of a baby, her baby, gurgling healthily. She sees her hands, she hears the child, and she feels the afternoon sun on her back. And then she sees it, glinting in the river. Sunlight on gold, gold flashing on water. A chalice? A grail. And rolling around inside it, a pearl as big as a grape. She's mesmerized. She reaches out her fingertips to touch it closer and closer. She can hear her child's contented gurgle on the bank, so she reaches further out, only for the chalice to move further away on a ripple. She doesn't notice the water underneath turn black. Her fingertips are almost at it, but it moves out, and she plunges into the river. And she's panicking now, and the bubbles and the water whirling around her, and her cries are just gurgles, fizzing and melting away. And then she feels it. The claws clamping around her wrist like manacles, and then pulling her down fast, fast through the waters, fast down into the blackness. She can't stop it. She can't breathe. She's unconscious. And when she awakes, she is in a new world. Underwater. A submerged cave with crystalline walls that sparkle. Reeds dancing in the entrance. Fish darting about her feet, and at the back of the cave she can see the golden chalice glinting. But there's something else there. Something huge and ancient. She can see the two large, pearl-like eyes at the top of a long snout. A tail coiling all around the cave, and as she peers into the darkness, she sees shimmering emerald scales, a body covered in green and gold tendrils that move like kelp in the currents. Dragon. And when she says the word, the water around her begins to ripple. Does she know why she has come? No. She shakes her head and her tresses float about her in the water. Milk. That voice is inside her head. It's like a waterfall, like a whirlpool, waves crashing. It's all she can hear. Milk. And when she realizes, she forgets everything from above, as if that whirlpool voice was sucking away all memory of land, of her baby, of her husband, of her cottage, all those images fragmented, breaking up, melting away, until there is nothing but dragon. Dragon opens up two taloned hands to reveal something small and shimmering. An infant? Milk. And now she knows her task. Nursemaid. She takes the hatchling from dragon and places it shimmering at her bared breast. And so it begins. Her life in the cave, under the river. Dragon weaves ancient spell around her. She sleeps when dragon allows. She eats when dragon allows. And all the while she nurses the infant, singing watery lullabies to soothe it. And as the infant draws at her breast, time is sucked too. She's lulled trance-like by the movement of the water and the bubbles, until soon her underwater world is as familiar to her as the one she doesn't remember above. The silver eels, as they swim, their fins flashing, are just as the town butchers with their flashing knives would have been. The trout that dart in and out and around her, just like the children would run in the town square. And she is soothed by the dragon spell. At night, dragon gives her a magical salve which she must place on the infant's hooded eyes to bestow it with piercing dragon sight. And this she does, diligently, tenderly. But by chance, a little bit of the dragon salve goes into her eye when she rubs it, and it lingers there. Time passes, and soon the infant is a youth, and her job is complete. Dragon coils his tail around her, and she waits. She waits for the slash of talon at her throat, for her blood to ooze and mingle with the water like smoke. But her death does not come. Instead, she is borne up through the water, up to the surface, and as she rises, she forgets the world below and remembers the world above. She finds herself on the riverbank, and she's confused, and her head is swimming. It's dusk, and there's no linen basket, and there's no child. And she goes running through the fields, through the streets of the town, running towards her cottage. And when she gets there and opens the door, two heads turn to face her. And one she knows well, but he's aged. He's grown a beard. And the other is a boy, about 7, staring at her. "You're alive. You're alive," says he, with the tears of joy running down his face, and he runs to embrace her. "You're alive. I thought you drowned 7 years ago in the river." 7 years. What had happened? Where had she been? She can't answer any of their questions because she doesn't know. And the boy stares at her, wary of this pale stranger whose eyes seem to ripple as if she's always searching for something she once knew. But time passes, and soon she settles into the old life, cooking, cleaning, caring for the husband, and even the boy comes round to accept this mother resurrected. She works in the fields, she washes the clothes. But some nights she wakes screaming of dragons. And one day, she was walking in the marketplace, smelling the sweet bunches of thyme and seeing the fresh fish gleaming on the stalls, the vegetables good and ready, when she senses a watery presence, and when she turns around, dragon, tall, huge, shimmering emerald, his tail coiling around the townsfolk who cannot see him. He's invisible. Dragon. The tail coils around the fat legs of a little infant. Claws stroke the golden curls. Huge pearl eyes home in on the prey. No one can see but her and her dragon sight. And her lips are moving and she's screaming, "Dragon! Dragon!" But no one can hear. Everyone is frozen. All time has stopped, and now there is nothing but her and dragon. The voice is in her head. That voice, like a whirlpool, like a waterfall. "You see me, mortal. I see you. I see you, dragon. And at that moment, 7 years pour into her head and she remembers the cave, the infant, the nursing. I see you, dragon. Dragon lifts up clawed finger and holds it over her right eye. And now? Yes. Dragon moves clawed finger over left eye. Dragon is gone. Disappeared. All she can see are the frozen people of the town. No. No, I can't see you. And then she feels a searing pain, a blinding pain, and she is screaming once more. And now everyone can hear. Everyone in the town has come alive and is staring down in horror. She is kneeling on the ground and she is rocking backwards and forwards, one hand covering her left eye, the blood oozing through her fingers, and she's screaming, "Dragon! Dragon!" And the left eye is gone. Dragon is gone. The child is gone. And she tried to tell them, she tries to warn them. They won't listen. And the years pass. And she tries to tell her story to anyone who will listen, and she's pushed aside by most, heads shaking in pity by others, year after year, until she is an old, old woman, alone, sitting under a bridge and weeping. Her hair is matted, her feet are black from the mud of the river, and her teeth are brown and as broken as her heart. Another child has gone missing in the town, and she knows the cause, but no one will listen. Will you listen? Will you believe? So for our next venture into dark waters, I've asked my husband Andy to help us out. This is called The Witch's Daughter. There was a good man lived at Malin Moor, with a wife he loved, daughter he adored, and every day he'd walk across the shore to cut peat at a bog up high. And when the sun was right above his head, the wife would send up the little daughter with a steaming bowl of broth, and they would sit and he would eat, the two of them looking out to sea. And one day the child saw a ship appear, and with a sweet smile she said, "Do you see the pretty ship off away, floating on the green waters of the bay, with its silver white sails blowing in the wind? I can bring her down, down beneath the waves just by wishing. Oh, I can send her down, down beneath the waves just by wishing." She took his empty wooden bowl in her hands, placed it in a puddle on the ground, and there she pushed it and pulled it around, dragging it over to the edge. And then she asked her father, "Look out to sea." The ship no longer sailed to the port ahead, but was turned towards the jagged rocks instead. And the daughter said, "Now you see a pretty ship coming near, and you see a wooden bowl over here. Well, if I turn it over, then the ship will she'll go down, down beneath the waves at my bidding. Oh, Daddy, I can send her down, down beneath the waves just by wishing. The wee lass smiled a secret smile, rocked the bowl with her hands, and the ship in the sea keeled over on its side. The good man said, "Daughter, listen here to me, leave the ship go, let her be." And so she blithely plucked the bowl from the pool and started home. "Where did you learn this thing, child?" said the father then. And he saw that strange smile again, and his poor heart, it broke at the words she then spoke. "My mother teaches her craft to me. I learned how to do it at my mother's knee, how to spin a pretty ship around the bright green sea, around, around, and how to send her down, down beneath the waves just by wishing, how to bring her down, down beneath the waves just by wishing." He left that night, spoke not a word to the wife he'd loved, daughter he'd adored. He was a good man. He could not abide two such ones with darkness on their side, and so he wandered lonely as a ghost, keeping inland, never straying to the coast, to keep from crossing what he knew he feared the most, wicked folk who can bring a ship down, down beneath the waves just by wishing. Bring a ship down, down beneath the waves just by wishing, just by wishing, just by wishing. So it's customary in a lot of Irish families for the elder members of the clan to terrify the younger members of the clan with stories of ghosts and ghouls, and this was very much what happened in my family. And the story I'm about to tell you about the dark water is true. My grandmother was the most wonderful storyteller, and she delighted in terrifying her 5 daughters with stories of ghosts and fairies. And they spent a lot of time in the glens of Antrim. And if you know anything about the glens, you'll know that the glens are full of ghosts and fairies. They're so full that those ghosts and fairies cascade down the glens in white waterfalls. And up on top of the glens, the atmosphere is primordial. There's a strange humming in the air up there. And when my family was spending time there, my grandmother would tell them lots of stories about ghosts from the glens. And she'd also pull lots of practical jokes on them. So she'd wait for them to be coming home and, hide in a bush with a white sheet over her head. So when they came up the road, she'd jump out and terrify them. And I remember talking to my Auntie Betty about this, and she said on one such occasion when my grandmother had absolutely scared the living daylights out of them all, my Auntie Betty couldn't sleep that night for 2 reasons. And the first reason was that she was still, her heart was palpitating from having this terrible, monstrous trick played on her by her own mother. And the second reason was that my granny, her mother, was lying in the bed in the room next door, and she was laughing and laughing and laughing at what she had done. My aunt said she did it out of pure devilment. And on one such occasion, she told her daughters the story of the Vanishing Lake. Now, the Vanishing Lake is a real place in Northern Ireland, up in the Glens. It's called Loch Arima. And it's the most amazing place. I've been there many times. There's a road that runs right through the middle of this lake, and you'll be driving along the road in the morning and the lake will be full. But when you come back in the afternoon, the lake will have completely disappeared, vanished. And I'd love to tell you that the reason for this was supernatural, but actually it's more geological. The lake of Lochareema is set on leaky chalk beds, and these will fill up with bits of peat. And then the lake will fill up with rainwater. And when these peats become, these plugs, if you like, become dislodged, the water will be sucked down so rapidly that at one moment it would feel like the lake was going to overflow. It was so full. And the next moment, the lake is gone. It's vanished. And the road that runs through Lochareema is the new road. And it's set quite high up from the lake itself, and it's got two strong stone walls on either side. And this is quite a good job, because when my mother was a teenager, it was the old road that ran through Lochareema, and this road was much lower down. It didn't have any stone walls. And when that lake would fill up with rainwater, it would flood over the road, completely obscuring it and making it treacherous to cross. And on this particular night, my mother and her best friend and these two fellas are getting into a van, and they're going to a dance in Ballycastle, which is a town up on the coast, and they're in Cushendall, little village. And the way to get to Ballycastle is up onto this road called the A2 that goes through the middle of Lochareema, the Vanishing Lake. And they're really looking forward to going out to this dance. They're only young, 17. And as they're getting in the van, my grandmother leans on the gate and says, come here now. Now, yous four better be careful up there when you're going through the Vanishing Lake. You don't want to bump into Sheila, do you? And these four young people just freeze, and they turn around and look at her. Because my grandmother loved to tell the story of Sheila up at the Vanishing Lake. Sheila had been about the same age as my mother was then, about 17. And she was alive long before my mother was even born. And Sheila fell in love with a boy from Ballycastle, the kind of boy that your parents do not want you to fall in love with. But you know, however you manage or you try to separate two souls from each other, the attraction becomes magnetic. And I don't know what sent her up out into the pouring rain that night. It must have been arguing with her parents. He's not good enough for you. I love him, Father. And out into the pouring rain, out onto the road, with her hair plastered down her face and these big raindrops hanging off her eyelashes, and her thumb stuck out in all defiance, determined that she would get to Ballycastle and be with the man she loved. She waited and she waited in the pouring rain, and sure enough, after some time, a van comes along and slows down, and it's a local man. It's someone that she knows. And you go, Sheila, what are you doing? You know, it's pouring with rain. Why don't you go home to your ma and your dad? And she says, no, I can't. I'm in love. You must take me to Ballycastle. And it maybe the sight of her standing in the pouring rain and not knowing whether it was raindrops or tears, he takes pity on her and he says, all right, get in the back of the van. And they set off towards Ballycastle. And she's yammering on in the back seat about how much she loves him, and he's listening away, and she can kind of smell the drink on his breath. He may have been coming home from the pub, and soon enough, they're coming up on top of the glens, and they're on the road approaching Lochareema, the Vanishing Lake. And on this night, the lake is full. It's so full that it's flooded over the road. And I don't know what happened next, whether it was the drink in his veins, or the reflection of the headlights on the water, or the distraction of the wee girl in the back seat going on and on and on and on. But somehow his van left the road and went into the lake. And he came out, and she didn't. She stayed up there at Lochareema and became a legend. The kind of legend that mothers like to tell their daughters on dark and rainy nights to terrify them. The legend of Sheila, the phantom hitchhiker, standing in the middle of the lake as if she's walking on the water, forever trying to get to Ballycastle and the man she loved. So, anyway, the four of them, my mother, her best friend, and these two fellows, are getting in the van. And my grandmother's rocked them a little bit here with the mention of Sheila. But do you know what? It's fine. It's not raining. And so they go through Lougharima towards Ballycastle, and there's not an incident at all. The lake is not very full. And when they get to Ballycastle, they go to the dance, and they have the best time. They're playing the records my mother loves. She's got her hair all done up beautifully, and she's wearing a lovely little dress and brand new shoes, and it's the Beatles. She loves the Beatles. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down, and I do appreciate you being round. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please, please help me? And they have the best time. And when they're coming out of the dance, they're chatting away. Oh, did you see your man? Isn't he gorgeous? Oh, I had a great time. I told everyone my name was Samantha because it sounds dead sophisticated. And they're chatting away like this. They don't realise when they're coming out of the dance that they're coming out like this, running over to the van. They don't realise when they're in the van and they're driving back along the road that it's pouring with rain. Because they're so excited. The only time they realise that the weather has significantly changed is when they come round the bend on the road and they're approaching Lougharima, the Vanishing Lake, and the headlights, they light up the sign. And then all of the conversation in the van just dissipates. Everyone is silent, and you can hear the windscreen wipers ka-dunk, 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 ka-dunk. Because everyone has this simultaneous thought. And then the driver starts to slow down as he approaches the sign, and he goes, ah, no. And he turns the engine off. Because you see now, on this night, the lake is full. It's so full that it's flooded over the road. And then the arguing starts. What are we going to do? How are we going to get home? My daddy's going to kill me. I don't know what to do. What are we going to do? We're stuck here on the other side. How are we going to get across it? And the driver says, calm down, calm down. I know what we're going to do. Someone has to get out of the van and walk around the front and guide the van across the road. You can feel with your foot under the water, get us to the other side. My Uncle Paddy did it last year with a tractor. You can do it. It's absolutely fine. Now, who's getting out of the van? And then the arguing starts again. I'm not getting out of the van. Well, I'm the driver. I can't get out. I've got a bad leg. And my mother's sitting there and she's getting angrier and angrier because she knows that she was the only one who was ever going to be getting out of the van. And when she gets out of the van, she's still so angry that she's not really conscious what she's gotten out of the van into. It's like a second or two before she's conscious of the rain pouring down on her, soaking her hair and her beautiful dress. And then she's conscious of the sound of the rain on the lake and how dark it is. There's no lights, there's no houses up here for miles. And then she's conscious of the horrible feel of the water lapping against her ankles. And she realises the task ahead. But you know, she's a bold lass, and so she takes a deep breath. I can do this. And she feels her way round to the front of the van, and she can feel the road with her foot, and she looks out. All she can see is endless dark rain and endless dark water. And so she starts to edge forward, feeling where the road is with her foot, edging slowly, beckoning, and at that moment the driver turns the engine back on, and a pool of water and rain, a white pool, is illuminated in front of her. And she thinks, right, I'll just focus on that white pool and edge forward and try not to look up ahead of me into that thick black curtain of rain. And so she starts to move forward, beckoning the chugging van behind her, turning occasionally to see the 3 ghostly white faces sitting in the dry sanctity of the van. Onward she goes, and then the wind becomes pushing the waves across the lake, sending ripples right up to her ankles and making her feel like there's just fish in here, right? And as she's edging forward, she becomes aware of the incessant noise of the rain on the water. And the noise, it shifts and moves as if it's conscious of her presence, so that she's feeling as if she's standing in the middle of a huge, black, sizzling pan, surrounded on all sides by the frying water. It's echoing all around her, but she keeps moving forward, beckoning the van and feeling with her foot as the wind and the rain howl around her, trying not to look up, but focus down on the road, because you see, one thought keeps coming back. Sheila. Am I going to see Sheila? And when she has this thought, when she's having these thoughts, the fear starts to push its way up, up into her throat, lumping in her throat until soon it comes out of her mouth and she shouts, I can't do this. And she turns round and screams it at them in the van. I can't go any further. But the voices and faces in the van go, no, you have to keep going forward. We can't go back now, it's too dangerous. You're in the middle. Middle of the road. Middle of the lake. Oh no. This is where she went in. She didn't come out. At least not alive. Oh God, oh no, I can't do it. And then the images start to come fast. Thick, jagged images of the sightings, of the legend, the accidents. And the stories are always the same. Girl, pouring rain, thumb, middle of the lake, van, driver, in the back, off they go. Hair dry, other side of the lake, turn around, gone, vanished. And the fear is making her numb, and the rain is so cold, and she tries to push forward with her head down, but the wind closes in on the wee girl in the middle of the lake, pulling her chin up so that she's forced to look up ahead into that primeval darkness. And oh no, I can't. No, there's something there. There's something ahead. Is it on the road? Is it in the water? Where is it? I can't see. There's something up there. Beep, 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 beep goes the van. All right. She's so scared now. Eyes down, trying not to look. Whatever it is up there ahead of her in the road. Help me if you can, I'm feeling down. Edging closer. And I do appreciate you being round. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? onwards and onwards through the dark rain, knowing now that there is something there. She can't see it, but it's watching her through the black curtain, and she's getting nearer and nearer to the thing in the road, closer and closer and closer, until when she screams out, and this makes the three in the van scream out, "What is it? Is it Sheila?" "Aye," says my mother, "it's Sheila. Sheila the sheep." And the fear is punctuated, and the reality now just rains down on her. She's standing in the middle of a lake, and her hair is ruined, and her dress is ruined, and her shoes are ruined, and her face is tattooed with blue mascara, and there's a sheep in the way. Needless to say, she got the van across. And she got Sheila the sheep across as well. And needless to say, when they'd all got home and dried off, they told my grandmother everything that had come to pass up at the Vanishing Lake. And needless to say, my mother didn't sleep at all well that night for 2 reasons. The first was that she kept having visions of Sheila, the phantom hitchhiker, reaching out her hand through the black rain to grab her and pull her down into the dark water of that primeval lake. And the second reason is because my grandmother was asleep in the room next door. But she kept waking up and laughing and laughing and laughing. So those are my 3 stories on the theme of dark waters. If you enjoyed them, then please feel free to make a donation or a little tip to me, Emily Hanna Grazebrook. And I hope to be joining you again soon at the World Storytelling Cafe. Bye.
Did you enjoy that storyteller? Of course you did. And if you enjoyed it, like the minstrels of old, we're passing round the hat. And if you have some, whether it's paper or coin, our storytellers would appreciate what you put in. Every penny you put in goes directly to that storyteller through paper. All you have to do is go to worldstorytellingcafe.com. Click on today's stories or click on that storyteller, and there'll be a hat below the story. And you can just drop a little in that hat. Well, thank you for listening. And if you can afford it, we'd appreciate it.